Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 4 of Tech Town.
Tech Town.
Tech Town, that's right. It's where you get all of your tech needs satisfied here at Tech Town. I'm Mr. Ellsberg. This is our town wizard.
Hello.
And we're here to talk all things tech to you. This week, we are talking about accessibility.
Accessibility. Yeah. Hard word to say, hard thing to accomplish.
Is it like excess, like you're having an excess of a good time? Like this is a really accessible place. Like we can have a lot of fun here.
That sounds great. And that's actually what we should title this episode anyway. But no, it is accessibility. Accessibility. Okay. So it is accessibility for people that are disabled in some way.
Okay.
So it's there are ways that maybe everybody would want to use a little magnifying glass. I think that's one example of it, that you or I could use.
Right.
But a lot of what I'm going to talk about is for people that actually are really hearing impaired, visually impaired, or have disabilities with their hands.
I think we all have different levels of disabilities.
It's true. And so, with some of them,
those are more obvious than others.
Well, that's true. So some disabilities really it's difficult with technology because technology came so far, and the people that use it so much that if you can't use it in that way, you're really at a disadvantage.
Right.
So some of these things are not just sort of interesting. For some people, they're like vital. Like it's the way that they could even interact in the world that we're in.
They're social justice issues.
I agree.
Basically. Exactly.
And so the world realizes this. Companies realize this. People doing open source realize this. So there's a huge, resources. There's a bunch of resources out there for people that have disabilities and letting them into the future with our tech.
So boom, let's get to some of those.
All right, so let's talk about a couple different kinds of disabilities and then the options out there for you now in the future. So for hearing impaired, sign language. Now, there's a couple cool sign language things. Number one is a Kinect translator of sign language. So Kinect is the little camera that Xbox came up with.
Okay.
And Microsoft came up with. And it was used for video games, but people are also able to program it to do other things. And it's a really cool
dance
camera.
In front of it.
You
can
dance.
All sorts of crazy lights coming out of you.
Yep.
I mean, that's one.
That's one.
I've seen.
Right.
Okay.
The other is it can translate sign language.
Oh,
so
cool.
when people are doing sign language, it's watching and it will translate their gestures into text or speech.
So you can read what they're saying if you don't know how to read sign language.
Well, yeah, I think it's more of like, let's say, you're doing sign language for someone who doesn't understand sign language, right? And you want to read it, right? That's what it is, right? Another great one that I thought was for sign language or for the hearing impaired is Google Hangouts has a feature that you can bring in an interpreter.
Ooh, I like that. By the way, we are kind of using Google Hangouts right now.
Exactly.
Their Hangouts on Air.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So if we wanted to, we could bring in an interpreter. And I didn't even realize this until today, but what you do is you just go to their website, and I think it's Google Interpreter, and then it will bring in a real live person that will then do sign language to the things that you're saying to the person that you're hanging out with on the internet.
We need to set that up, obviously.
I know. Actually, that would be cool. So maybe we'll try that next time. I don't know if it costs money or what.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Because that's a social justice issue.
Exactly.
We literally have all sorts of possible handicapped viewers that are not able to hear what we're trying to say.
Exactly. And so I'm kind of curious if you want to leave a comment in the comments. If you have any of these disabilities and are using anything to be able to access Tech Town on YouTube, let us know. Let us know what you use. Right. For the hearing impaired, captions. The subtitles, closed captions, those are huge. So Netflix offers them on a lot of their titles, which is great. I don't know about all of them, but at least most of them has now captions, and even in other languages.
Now, did someone write all of those out, or did someone program?
Yeah, so writing things out takes forever. So usually not, unless you have to. Usually what happens is like the studios will have the scripts in digital forms. So you can actually like ingest the data, meaning like you write code that will take in their digital format and figure out the audio and when it should be. And so those are standardized now, and so they can really have a nice smooth pipeline of that going.
Done.
Okay, so now the vision impaired. So I was kind of curious, how would a blind person use a computer?
Oh, maybe like auditorily, like put your hands on the keys. You can kind of feel which ones they're on.
Right.
Maybe?
But I mean, like, imagine navigating all the different websites and everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's right. You would need something like beep at you or something if you went over like a certain area.
Right, something like that.
Told you what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this guy does a great job. He just has a YouTube video. You should watch it. It's just him showing how he uses. This is actually Mac's, Apple, Macintosh is, I guess they don't even call it Macintosh. Mac's voice assist feature.
Okay.
Where it will like describe things.
Okay.
And as you type things, it will like read things back to you. So watch the video to check it out.
Cool. Is it like, is he just hanging out with Siri? Is he just falling in love?
More or less. Yeah, he uses Siri
He's falling in love.
Yes.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a love story. I mean, we should.
It is. That's for next episode. Yeah, loving your computer. So anyway, this voice assist, it also actually works on iOS. So it'll basically just be reading on the screen things that are there, button names and the titles of things. It can read the content too if you want.
Right.
But that makes sense. That's cool. Another one that I thought was really cool. Here, I want to show you this one. So check this out. This is the real-time Braille display. And I think it's cool that they call it a display.
Ooh, that's nice.
It's not a display as in our eyes, but this little thing has movable Braille, and it's constantly moving the dots, and you can read by putting your finger on the thing. This guy is a terrible actor.
Well, no, he's blind.
Well, if you listen to him.
Oh,
and the audio is real bad, and so the video is a little whack. But they have like a keyboard in those little dots up there, or those pads up there.
You think he came up with this?
No, I think he's just an employee. But I want to see the actual movement. Yeah, it can like attach to the computer, and then whatever's on the screen is going to be like putting out the pattern of the dots in the things. They don't really show it though. I wish they did. They got to get their better marketing in their PR for their videos. All right, so bottom line is Braille. That's a way, maybe you're not in a situation where reading out vocal things works. You really want to be reading things with your fingers. Okay. Now,
very cool.
A very weird, quick tech spin on things.
Okay.
When you're a programmer, and especially a web programmer, and you're writing HTML code.
Right, I'm there.
Okay. HTML has tags. It's not even really code. It's markup, but whatever. So you're writing these markups. There's one for an image. Let's say you want to put an image on a web page. Okay. You do this IMG tag. Uses the letters IMG. It has a little tag. It's all great. Then you say, where is that image located? You give it a URL. You give it a link to that image. Okay. Boom. Now you have an image on the page. Well, blind people or visually impaired people can't see that image.
Right.
So every image tag should have another little attribute that has a textual description of that image.
Okay.
And browsers know that. And so there's a mode in your browser to sort of hear the web page, and it's way helpful when you have that alt. It's ALT. Alt is the little attribute you need on there.
Got it.
But in that, you put a little description of the image so that people with visual impairments can actually see the images on your website more or less.
Nice. And is that prevalent on a lot of websites out there?
Yeah, it's basically every real website. Like if you imagine a real company, they look at all their images. They're always going to have it so that these browser readers can read those.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's say you have disabled hands. There's a lot of good speech to text things. So if there's a way that somehow you can talk and dictate, it will turn into text.
So obviously, I've seen Stephen Hawking do this.
Yes.
And so
he'd
be a prime example.
Exactly. And he's actually one of the most difficult because he can't really move anything.
No.
I have a link in the show notes for a sort of, you can move the mouse with your mouth.
Whoa.
So there's a little like stick that goes in your mouth and you like move your tongue around and it can move the mouse and click and do things. So mouth is way, but I think he can't even move his mouth very much. He just kind of twitches or bites with his jaw or something, very small movement.
Jeez.
Which is amazing. So there's that too. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and explain the universe real quick.
Yeah. Well, I guess he spends all his energy on explaining the universe in his mind and not in his teeth.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I was explaining the universe.
Oh, I wish I could hear.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Another cool one is eye tracking software. So if you can't type or move your hands like this or move your body, if you're paralyzed, you can move your eyes and have it follow your eyes. And there could be clicking motions where you blink. And so they have eye tracking software.
Wow.
I was in the show notes. I list a couple that you can actually download and try. It's not easy to find a great free one. There are some. They're a little more technical. There's some that are more expensive. There's some that look really fancy that come with special glasses and a special camera or something like that. Right. But really, if you do want to, you can get eye tracking software.
Nice.
It's not so easy on iOS. So for a phone or for an iPad, there's not really a good way for eye tracking. So I'm kind of actually hoping that someone comes out with maybe an Apple specifically, because it's not really easy to program it in an app with what they let you do. But some way to do eye tracking on that, and then let people be able to use iPads.
So you're saying that Apple is just going to commit a social justice crime unless they make their program easier?
Sure am saying that.
All right.
Get it together, Apple. All right. Translation is not quite. You're selling good voices, so it's pretty good. Skype translator is very similar, but it's very much about talking in real time. Right. So you say whatever you're going to say, and it translates that and outputs it for the other person on the other end.
I wonder how successful that is at getting the point across.
I think at getting the point across, pretty good. They've gotten pretty good at speech recognition, pretty good at translation, and pretty good at text to speech the whole way through. So it's pretty impressive. We should try it.
Yeah.
I will show you after that. Okay, companies. Companies have pretty good initiatives on these matters. So Microsoft, Apple, and Google have some examples, but they really have whole websites of their companies devoted to this. It's a really important issue to them, which I think is good. So if you go to their websites, you can see all the ways that they're tackling these initiatives. A lot of the products that I mentioned are from these companies. And so check them out. If there's some thing you may need, you maybe don't even know it's there, but they made it for you. Check it out.
Which makes sense, because you want the best and the brightest, in your company. So it's a company policy, helping out those people, that have disabilities. Make it the rest of the way. So boom.
Okay, and lastly, wouldn't be a tech time with something wild and crazy.
All right.
We've got brain-computer interfaces.
Okay.
The old BCIs. So, controlling things with your brain. So let's say you're paralyzed.
Yep.
Or, you really can't move anything.
Yep.
You can think thoughts and control computers.
Whoa.
So this has been around for a little while. Now they're getting a little better at it, and there's still, work to be done.
Yeah.
But check out some of these videos. How it works is basically they measure your brainwaves, and when you think certain thoughts, they can measure the difference in those thoughts. So you have to train it a lot so far, meaning you have to give it a lot of input to first figure out which brainwaves correspond to which thoughts.
Right.
So if you watch this video, they train this guy when he hears or says fa, think fa. And when he hears like bow, think bow. And so it says ba, and he thinks ba, and it says mo, whatever that said, and thinks that. And he thinks it and thinks it. And he does that a bunch of times, and then it starts seeing the differences in the brainwaves.
Right.
And then he'll just think one, and it'll guess.
Right.
And it gets it right with huge accuracy after a while.
No kidding.
So imagine you could do not just fa and bow or whatever. You could do 5 different things or 10 different things. You can assign those to different actions.
Right.
So you could have one of them mean open a door, one of them mean yes, one of them mean no, one of them mean move forward. You can start controlling a robot with this.
Whoa.
Now, I think a kind of a great full circle version of this is they have a video. I have a video in the show notes about a paralyzed man who is able to walk. And it's the full spectrum. It's his real body. It's not robot body. It's his real body. But they installed things that measure in this spinal fluid that measure his brainwaves. And it measures his brainwaves, telling it when he wants to walk and how he wants to move his legs.
Whoa.
And then it shocks his legs and spasms the muscles in the right ways to move those muscles. And so he's basically thinking of walking, and it's moving his muscles and he's walking. So check out the video. It's a little amazing and crazy. It's slow at first, and it's kind of weird, but the fact that it's all working is amazing.
So are you sure there's not just like some big hoax with it, right? Like,
it totally
and I said, "Arise up," and there rose up. Oh, you know, just like all.
Yep. Give me money. Give me the money. Send the money here. Yeah.
There's your snake oil from Deckdown.
Yeah. Nah.
Maybe. Okay. Which
All
brings
right.
us to
music. Music.
Website.
All right. So this music website. For the week. This music website is discussing what the musical experience is for the deaf. Mm-hmm. So since we're talking about the hearing impaired, what is music like for the deaf? Or obviously they can't hear some of the sounds, but you can first of all feel some of the vibrations. You feel the culture. There are people performing. You can see some of that. So I just thought this was kind of a well-written, more like human article on what it would be like to be a deaf person.
Cool.
And be in this world of music.
You got to wear that shirt that says "I am deaf."
I guess so, just to let everybody know. So play loud.
Yeah. Let everyone know.
So yeah, check it out. It's kind of an interesting read, and I just had kind of wondered how music affects deaf people, because it obviously you can't ignore it. It's around in the world.
Right. And
you do feel some vibrations, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Nice.
All right. Bringing us to Mr. Ellsberg. Cite
of the week. All right, so I just put down one of the tools that I've used before with some of my students that may not actually be hearing impaired or vision impaired.
Okay.
But if you're just tired of reading online, this is something that will speak aloud to you, and it's called Speak It, and so it will bring it straight to audio, and this is something you can play around with. This week, you can put it on your browser. I brought up the one for Chrome here, but you can go and bring it up on Apple or your phone, and this will transcribe that and read it aloud to you.
Nice.
So that's boom.
This
easy.
is like I remember back in middle school, they had the Macs that had the text-to-speech thing, and you always type funny things and make it say it out loud.
Exactly.
And then it's endless fun. You gotta type things and make it say it out loud. Like, but you gotta make the
there was one back when I was in school that would make it, that would transcribe it in like, I don't know, gangster talk or something like that.
Oh yeah, you could change some voices. I remember that. Oh wow.
Real funny stuff. You get all the slang in there.
All right.
That's the one. Which brings us to finally
the security segment of the week. Okay, so I just want to call out Volkswagen and Audi for being big old cheaters.
All right, so,
big old cheaters.
Yeah, okay, huge cheaters. And last week we didn't even mention it, but there was a giant controversy.
Yes.
Giant controversy. We're in the middle of our aliens episode.
Yeah.
And then we got
that's right.
We got our sound cut off.
That's
right.
All
right. So anyways, I'm just gonna add a little fuel to the fire and say that this was going to be our security side of the week last week.
Yeah.
And then boom. Guess what happened? Aliens.
Yeah, you'll notice if you watched last week's episode, aliens took over in two ways. Number one, we were trying to play a wonderful Techtown original music theme song.
We came up with it.
Yeah, we recorded it, and we tried to do that, but we were silenced and censored by the aliens. And so you'll notice it goes to a black screen and says nothing, it's silent.
Yeah.
And then it comes back, and we realize we were censored, but amazing. And also, when we tried to get the security segment talking about Volkswagen, the aliens cut us off.
All right, so obviously, aliens are among us.
Yes.
And they love Techtown.
Yes.
But they want to keep all the music in Techtown to themselves.
Right.
Secondly is Volkswagen and the aliens have a thing going on.
True.
Volkswagen's not a big fan of Techtown.
No.
They're not fans of Techtown because otherwise they wouldn't have committed this huge, ridiculous thing that they did.
So what they did,
and then blocked us last week.
Right. What they did was cheat on their emissions testing. So their emissions of their cars are bad. They're diesel cars. These are specific models, but there's a lot of them. Emissions are bad, but they detect when they're getting plugged into the official emissions reader, and they give a different readout. They basically change their engine and how it works to do better emissions just for that little bit, and then go back to bad. So security-wise, I would say, number one, computers are taking over everything, even the cars, and now they're cheating with computers.
Right.
And number two, theoretically, security should be involved here so that you can't be doing that.
Right.
So get it together.
I can't believe that they did that.
Come on. They wrote specific code to say when you're getting an emissions test, they had to be clever about it too, because you have to figure out how to detect that you're getting the emissions test. And that's not easy. They haven't really talked about why that is. I'm kind of curious. But you have to basically detect if your wheels are spinning or not. So steering wheel, if someone's on that or if someone's sitting in the seat. But
that's rough.
Volkswagen said cheater.true equals us.
Jeez. Disgrace. Shame,
all right.
Shame.
Well,
shame.
Hopefully they will not do that again, and hopefully everybody with accessibility needs has the accessibility needs met.
That's right. We're always here for everybody, all of our tech townies. We're glad that you joined us here this week, and we're excited to see you again next week here on Tech Town.
Tech Town.